Hello, BookTube. I'm Pet, the BookTube Adam. Thank you for being here. In fact, I want to thank all of BookTube for all the consolation and help I've gotten over especially the last week, but the last month and the last year. It's been a pretty tough week, I know, for everybody all over the world with sickness. But here in America, I had a real nervous week. And I just want to thank BookTube for all you people who are there to talk about books, to remind me there's something else going on, something else to be happy about. And in particular, I have three famous booktubers. They don't need me to bring them fame, but I want to thank that they've all been there for years. The first is Steve Donahue, who is really Mr. BookTube. He was the first person I watched, and I've actually seen him in person. My husband and I visited him in Boston, and I know he felt as nervous and upset about the situation here in the U.S. as I did, but he's just been great the last few days. He just keeps reminding us that we're lucky because we have books to escape to. And I just watched, I don't think he's put out one today yet, but I just watched one where he talked about comic books. You know, I don't like comic books, or I don't never tried them, but it's just fun to listen to him. He's just so happy about books. And I think he's not as old as me, but I think he lives kind of the same life I do these days, stuck in the house. Anyway, thanks, Steve, for all you've done. Anyway, next, I want to say I woke up, Tuesday was election day. I woke up Wednesday morning and the news did not look good. And I felt so bad. And I turned on BookTube and I saw Carl Eric Anderson had made a video called, "How Am I Going to Get Through the Winter?" And I thought, I need to watch that. And boy, did he have some great ideas. He talked about reading, as always, and walking. And he talked about how he reads Dickens and sees what London is like back then when Dickens was writing. And then he goes, while he's listening to it, he goes out in London himself and walks around for miles and miles. And it just made me realize, yeah, I've been forgetting to take walks. You know, I immediately, in fact, for the last 3 days, have taken long walks, and it's made so much difference. And last, I want to thank my old buddy, Sean the Book Maniac. I also have met him in person. I went to his wedding 2 years ago almost. Oh, yeah. And I can always be sure he'll be there every Friday. And sure enough, there he was today. Outside. He was happy to be outside. And I have to tell you, he always cheers me up, whether he likes the books or not. But he talked about a book that I just had to go to the library and get, Hieroglyphics by Jill McCorkle. And as he explained it, it's about a wonderful old woman. Actually, she sounds older than me. But he talks about how he wishes he could be friends with this old woman. And something about she and her husband have just retired, and she's in every other chapter. And I thought, I need to read that book. And luckily, I don't think anybody goes to my library now, because I went to the library and there it was. So that's what I'm going to read now. Okay, so thank you. You and all the other booktubers who the last month, 6 months, I've been able to look at, turn on, find somebody who likes books, and it's made all the difference in the world. So thanks. Okay, I'll talk just a little bit about books. A little confused here. As you might have seen on my thumbnail, I have gotten interested in, I've always been very interested in modernism. And I have this book on the modernist novel, which isn't showing up very good. And just in short, modernism, I forgot to bring my other thing. Okay. Modernism is a new way of thinking and looking at the world that took place in all the arts. Painting, music, reading, and it's not acting right. Anyway, and I've always loved art from the modernist period, and I knit. That's my other thing I love to do while listening to books. And I just knitted a bag with a Picasso work on it. It was so fun to do, and I had a new experience of learning to knit something. It was a copy of a Picasso work, and I just love it. And boy, do I get comments. And it made me think about modernism more, and this book did too, especially. And I want to look into it more, especially the books, on the book side of it. I've started the book on modernist, and I've gotten an idea. I want to be able to explain what modernism is, but it's hard to put in many words. But as it's a new way of looking at the world. Obviously, the art looks at it differently, but in books, it looks at it some of the ways that the author has mentioned. It changes or looks differently. The world is often the narrator of a story. It's usually not an omniscient narrator. You don't know what's really going on in the real world sometimes, only what's going on in their brain, and sometimes you can't trust them. And it's more about how the world feels, how things feel, than how they really were. It's a complete change from Victorianism, which I love too, but had just been before that, which they equate to realism, actual realism. And I really want to start understanding modernism in literature more. And one of the books that the authors, I'll be talking about some of the others, but one of the ones he suggests most, who I've always wanted to read, is Elizabeth Bowen. And I happen to have the oldest paperback in the world, probably, of her collected stories, and I've started reading them. And they're wonderful. They just are what I need right now. They somehow get into your emotions and your heart and your brain. One in particular, I'll just tell you a little bit about, was called Number 16. And it involves a young lady writer who is going to see an older writer who has written a good review of a book or something that she wrote. And as she has to climb this hill in London, in old houses, it gets creepier and creepier as she tries to find his house, number 16, and she doesn't feel well. Later on, we learn that she has the flu, as do the other people in it. Anyway, she finally finds it in this terrible, beat-up old neighborhood, but it used to be grand at one time. She finds the writer she's looking for and his wife, and they open the door, and first thing they say is, "Oh, didn't you get the telegram saying not to come?" I've had that happen once when I went to see somebody, and I go, "Oh, didn't you get the email not to come?" That's a real, I can relate to that right away. Anyway, she does end up staying. Come to find out, they all have flu. And it just the way it's written is kind of like, when you have the flu, when you have a fever, things are just kind of drifty and misty, and the whole thing's written like that. And we find out more truths about the woman writer and the man, and it just brought me so many feelings, and it's just great, and they're all great. I'm going to read the rest of these, and then I think I'm going to read a novel of his. So anyway, that's about all I have to say today. I have a lot of books. As I said, when I went to the library, I don't think anybody goes to the library. That new bookshelf is just packed. So I have a lot I'll be reading, so I'll be back. But thanks again, all you booktubers and commenters and readers. Thanks for keeping us going.